So this is going to be extremely casual showcase of Calcharo, but I wanted to talk about my boy because he came to me in GN summons and I got him off rip and I was like, damn it. All right, fine. So I got a dupe of him. I got a bunch of dupes of Danjin. So if you want to see a similar video about my girl here, I almost got her maxed out. But yeah, I got one dupe, a Calcharo. And basically the real thing to know about this is that whenever he uses his skill, you recover 10 resonance energy, and this can be triggered every 20 seconds. So it's a nice little energy regen. It's very passive, but it's just a little bit of a nice thing to kind of keep you going in the flow, right? So here's my stats for my boy. Unfortunately, I have a lot of HP and defense, and the reason I say unfortunately is because I currently have Arena on my team, and she's basically going to be able to heal me and keep me alive. So I really only need to be able to survive like 2 or 3 attacks realistically. So yeah, being able to have like all this HP and defense isn't really helping me when I could be putting into attack, crit rate, and damage and stuff like that I'd rather have. But the crit rate and the crit damage that I have, and then I have a little bit of liberation damage as well, and the electro damage from having the 2 stacks of the same echo. It's just a little percentage that I'm getting mainly from my echoes. So the big thing that's giving me a lot of defense and HP is going to be my weapon plus a couple of the echoes that I have. So this weapon is not optimal really. The reason that I'm using it is because first off, it's only like 4 stars that I have. And a lot of these other 4 stars just give you like health regen whenever you jump back in, which I don't necessarily really need with Arena. So this is going to give me a little bit of HP or a little bit of attack by 8%. And then again, defense by 15%. Not really complaining about the defense. Obviously it means I can tank a little bit more, but like I said, I don't really need to do that. Now the echoes, the same stats here, so I won't show this too much, but basically this is where it comes from. And the real one that I have is my little boy, my birdie. So this bird is come from the web event. So the attack 30%, the attack plus 100 was pretty nice. Now I got a crit rate damage plus 18.6%. If I got a couple more of these guys, my Calcharo would be stacked. The crit rate for 6.9% is really good as well. HP and defense, again, I don't really want it. But the liberation damage bonus is pretty nice because Calcharo likes to use his ult and he likes to kind of do a lot of damage in it. So I'll take that. So I would really realistically would like to get all 5 for probably the Void Thunder electro damage because it plus 15% after releasing heavy attack or resonance skill, both of which Calcharo is doing consistently. This effect stacks up to 2 times. Each stack lasts 15 seconds, but currently I just don't have enough of a decent amount of care or like the electro units basically for my echoes to be able to do it. So what I'm kind of going for right now is Lingering Tunes is going to give me a plus attack. So it's not too much. It's just a 10% attack there, but I'm kind of putting some just random echoes. If I'm being 100% honest, I'm in a weird spot with my data bank level that I'm getting to a point where I'm getting higher percentage for 4 stars. And eventually I'll be able to get to 5 stars. And that's when I'll start to invest really heavily in echoes and substats and stuff like that. Cause this echo is the only one that I've unlocked the substats for. So yeah, I got HP on this guy, unfortunately. And then this guy, I've also got defense and HP. So that's where a lot of my HP and defense is coming from. I could probably swap them off at some point, but I have this one as kind of an extra guy. So he's fusion. So he's not really helping too much, but he can't really go anywhere else because they don't do 3 stacks. They only do 2 and 5, but he's going to give me electro damage plus 4% and then attack plus 13. And then this guy, so he's kind of a big boy. He costs quite a bit, so I don't really want him necessarily until I can get a couple of decent oneies. But his crit rate is going to be 5 plus the attack of 35. So this is going to be pretty nice just to be able to give me that crit and attack. So that's kind of why he's on there. Plus, obviously, he's going to be part of the electro damage thing to help me out quite a bit. And we already kind of talked about the dupe, but the skills, I'm kind of more going to show you than I am going to kind of sit here and go through it each and everything. I don't completely understand the ins and outs of min-max and every single thing, but I will talk about how I play him and how each one of his skills work. The only thing I really want to talk about in case I don't do it is his outro skill. And basically he summons his phantom and he helps out, like basically does damage outside of being on the field. So he's like kind of a nice little backup, deals a little bit of damage and then just pops out. So he's not there for very long, but let's run into this tower and I'm going to kind of talk about my team first off, and then we'll kind of talk about what, you know, everything's going on with Calcharo and just kind of going through there. So we're going to go ahead and jump straight into level 2 just because I want to be able to talk while I'm doing this. And I'll explain Verena. So Verena, obviously she's kind of a basic one, right? She's there for a reason. You kind of know why she's there. She's a healer, so she's going to be able to help out quite a bit. She also does a little bit of a stack for a bit of damage. Now for Danjin, she actually isn't going to help with her buffs whenever she does like intros and outros. She is just kind of there for a sub DPS because she does a max, like she does a lot of damage, but basically she only really buffs other Havoc users. So she's not really helping my team with like the outro skills. She's more or less just here, I don't know, to hang out with Calcharo. So here's your basic attacks. You got 4 of them, you can see, and then you got like your heavy attack you can use, which does a nice little sweep. Now your E, or your skill rather, is a little 3-ping. You can do them consecutively, pretty consecutively, I'll say. And then that builds up your meter down below. Once you get the 3 stacks, you hold your heavy attack, and now you do a slash down instead of just that little, line. So the big thing that I like to do is I like to just do a little bit of basic damage in between it. Nice bread and butter. You're always doing your skill into your just a little bit of basic attacks. Now, this is where his ult comes into play. So it's the opposite for his ult, right? So to build the meter on his ult, you have to use basic attacks to do it. And then again, you do your heavy attack to use the slam down. Again, I like to do the same exact thing. I like to just kind of throw in the skills with it because you are doing stacks. We'll kind of see. You can see that his phantom's around here. He was for like 2 seconds. He's not here for very long. The phantom's like kind of there for a second. But yeah, so what I like to do with him is basically just continuously do the same thing. He's got a nice little flow to him. You just want to kind of keep doing basic attacks, and then you want to do skills depending on which ability you're in. So whenever you go into that heightened state, you will do a little bit more damage. So it is important to make sure that you are throwing in like different attacks and stuff like that, but you do want to try to prioritize which one you're trying to do. So if I'm in my normal state, I am going to prioritize the skill over my basic attack, right? I'm going to make sure I'm doing that. But if I'm in this state, I'm going to make sure that I'm doing more, more basic attacks than not, because I'm trying to build up that stack. Then, so I throw in kind of like the skill whenever I feel like there's a good opportunity, because the skill actually does not cancel your basic attack combination. So you can kind of do it in between. It's pretty nice to be able to do it. You can also do like a jump dive thing, but every character has that. And I haven't really found too many uses for that. He kind of helps you reset a little bit. But yeah, there's just kind of a good idea of how he plays. He does a decent amount of damage. And honestly, once you start getting him scaled on crit and crit damage and just regular damage, he's able to do quite a bit of damage. So I think eventually you'll get to a point where you really like playing him. Plus, he's super flashy. He's super easy to understand. So lastly, we'll just talk about a little bit of team stuff. If I was going to swap out my Dan Jin for somebody who's actually going to work with this team, I would go with Mort. So instead of Dan Jin, I would do Mort. And that's just because his outro actually does a pretty decent thing for Calcharo. So whenever he is the one that swaps off, so the next character after him, so if you swap from Mort to Calcharo, you'd actually gain 38% heavy attack damage, deepening for 14 seconds, right? So the reason this is important for Calcharo is because, like I said, you can use a lot of his basic attacks, but they're always leading up to his heavy attack. And his heavy attack does a decent amount of damage. Like, it's going to be his bread and butter when it comes to the max amount of damage he's doing. So you're going to get a little bit of a boost on that as well. So I would personally put him and then Verena or some other healer or some other support. So you could also do Jian Shin. I haven't used her because obviously I don't have her, but she's also pretty good. She does a lot of cool things for the team as well. Other than that, you could obviously put Baiji. She's going to be a decent healer. She's not going to be as good as Verena, but she does give you a little bit of a boost of attack as well for all damage types. So not just Calcharo. And then she's able to give her HP and stuff like that and heals. So just not the real big thing about her is she's just not able to heal quite as much. And her damage thing per second does not last as long as Verena. So Verena is going to last 30 seconds. And then Baiji only lasts for like 6 seconds. So that would be the two. Sanhua is also really good for just helping out the team quite a bit. She does quite a bit of stuff as well if you're just doing for like basic attack stuff. So instead of Mort doing like the heavy attack thing, she does the basic attack. So she's kind of like the basic attack chick, and then Mort is like the heavy damage dude. So if you got somebody doing a lot of basic attacks, which could help Calcharo because you are, when you're in that like resonate state and liberation doing all that different stuff with your basic attacks, you would want to have a little bit of damage. But I would probably think that the Mort would be a little bit better because most of your damage is coming from that big old burst of damage you're doing at your heavy. So yeah, that's just a couple of different teams I would recommend. Obviously, you can just play whoever you want, so I'm not going to say everybody and anybody, but yeah, that's who I would recommend if I wasn't doing Dan Jin.